It was like a ghost.
I want to be a wizard.
Hi, welcome to Amy Loves Bad
Hello!
Movies. I'm Amy.
I'm Josh.
And so this is a departure from the norm. We are not in our apartment right now because we're actually going to go pay and see a movie.
What do you mean? We didn't pay for the other movies? Hi. So we're about to go in to see a movie. It's her birthday, and she wanted to go see a movie, and I knew what movie she wanted to see, and it's actually a movie I kind of want to see too. It's Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. A story set in the Harry Potter universe. I'm not going to call it a Harry Potter story because there ain't no Harry Potter in this, I believe. Also, I'm excited for this movie because it's not really based entirely upon a plot line developed in a storybook that J.K. Rowling has written. Apparently, she helped out with the writing for this one, and I'm excited for this.
She wrote it. No, yeah. This is written by J.K. Rowling.
What I'm excited for this movie is the fact that I don't have a book to compare it to, so I can take that stress that I've had ever since Harry Potter 3 and just chuck it out the window.
My points are, I'm really excited about the actors in this film. Eddie Redmayne. I adore him. He's one of the main reasons I like Jupiter Ascending, because his villain is just so obnoxiously out there.
Wait, is that the guy who just suddenly screams every other line? Yeah, he's
very quiet, and then he screams, and then he goes back in. Like, that man knew he was in a bad movie, and he was going to make the most of it. And then the other actor I'm looking forward to being in here is Dan Fogel. Dan Fogel! He's not in enough movies. He's a Broadway alum who broke into like the indie scene and has done a couple big movies, and he's friggin' hilarious. He's the one playing the No-Maj in this.
Yeah.
And he's awesome. Yeah, he also reminds me of a friend I had back in college.
That's the character I'm most interested in, because whenever Harry Potter came out, every kid was like, oh, I want to be in this house, I want to be in this house, I want to do this, I want to do this. And all I can think of was like, I don't see myself as a wizard. Because I don't know, it feels restrictive. You need a wand to do this, and blah, blah, blah. And I like more free-form sort of like force stuff.
No, I'm a fucking wizard. So, you put me in a place with magic, I want to be able to do that.
So, anywho, we're going to go in and see this movie now.
Yeah, because we're probably going to be running late now. So, cut to when we are back.
It's on it. Why would I have to wear something like this?
Because your skull is susceptible to breakage under immense force.
Warning, the following is a very spoilerific review of the following movie, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. If you have any intention to see this movie whatsoever, please, by all means, go watch the movie first.
Put that out of the way.
So we just saw the movie.
It's good.
I like it. The movie opens. By the way, I love seeing this with her because she's so deep into Harry Potter lore that she's able to explain stuff to me.
Yeah.
Whereas
before the characters even figured shit out.
But anyway, the movie starts out with this one building getting blasted to bits, and there's a bunch of Aurors wearing trench coats and hats and everything, and I think it's so freaking cool that old American Aurors kind of look like Men in Black, G-Men sort of dudes. I love that aesthetic to them, that they wear trench coats, that they look incognito as hell.
And how, in the old Harry Potter movies, wizard stuff always had like a European sort of like gothic tune to it. And everything is Art Deco, and it's gorgeous, and it's of the time period. Yeah, and I know, love it. And I love it. Like the ministry that they have is fantastic looking.
They actually have to keep in like contact with how the nomad community is going on with the fashion and everything like that, because they're so paranoid about being found out. This is an actual American wizarding community that has to keep an eye on them. They're so paranoid about being found out and everything, because Americans have a history of being afraid of a lot of stuff.
Yes, we are always
the Red
paranoid
Scare,
of everything.
There's a lot of touchy things that can
One
go
of the
to.
reasons
Salem,
why
though. Salem is one of the biggest, strongest points for the wizarding community, and that's reflected in this movie. I can actually count the number of references from this movie to any English stuff like Hogwarts or Alice Dumbledore on like one hand.
Yeah,
Very,
which is
very
great,
few references.
because that means you were really in the universe that this created. I
and it
didn't
was-
want to hear a
yeah.
whole bunch of cameos and shit like that.
Oh,
I
no,
wanted
yeah.
a new
And
story,
it wasn't-
that's what we got.
So the plot opens,
Yeah.
place gets destroyed. It goes to like this newspaper clipping that starts with, "Hey, Hogwarts is increasing their security," and you're like, "Okay,
Oh, no.
that's."
It's not just this place gets destroyed. Right off the bat, like a good dozen wizards get fucking massacred.
Oh yeah, and like
Immediately.
this dark magic guy
And then you
is
see
on the run
blonde
and everything
hair.
like that. And yeah, you
And
get a
it's
good
so
enough
obvious
look at
it's
him, you're like,
Grindelwald.
"Oh, that's
You're
a."
like, that's Grindelwald. That's gotta be Grindelwald.
This is not a Sherlock episode, man. You're
Yeah.
giving it away.
There
It-
were times. There were
It
times.
goes somewhere. We'll get to it.
Yeah. No, there were times when I was watching this where I'm like, this is the best episode of Doctor Who I have ever seen.
They're watching this sermon as well, and
Yes.
Jacob pushes past. He's going to the bank in order to get a loan, and he bumps into Newt as well. And you notice quickly they have pretty similar suitcases, and you're like, "Oh, that's going to be a cinematic thing in the future."
No. But the thing is, they play. Like, there's a couple of times where it could have happened, and they keep going. Nope, they still have the right suitcase. They still have the right suitcase until the very last second it can happen, and that's when they do it.
But things immediately go awry as Newt notices one of his creatures gets out, and it's a Niffler. It is adorable. I love it. I want one.
He's basically a New York City pickpocket mixed with like a marsupial.
It is
It's
a
adorable.
platypus. It is a gold-seeking platypus, and I
with
love
a
it.
pouch that has an infinite amount of space for gold.
But he
shines
goes
around his
chasing
animals,
after the Niffler as Jacob goes in, tries to get a loan. It doesn't work. He comes back out. He still has the egg with him, and it turns out it's hatching. So he gets Newt's attention, and that's the first time you see a wand in this movie, is when Newt just goes, crap. He Accios the hell out of the guy, brings him over, apparates down into the bank vault where the Niffler has gotten into. Aloha Moore has opened the vault. The bank manager comes down. Meanwhile, Jacob's freaking the hell out.
Yeah, he's like, oh my god, what is going on? What the fuck is going on? I am not with this guy.
He gets into the bank vault. The Niffler has already stuffed half of the safety deposit boxes into his pouch. Is looking up with a gold bar, just sitting there going, hi.
And I love there's a visual gag where Newt looks at him like, don't fucking do it, and Niffler just goes, shh. And he puts
I'm doing it.
Stop me, bitch.
And this entire time that they're trying to get the creatures going on, there's a whole other plot going on with the New Salemers, and they're trying to something, but it turns out one of the boys is working with not Grindelwald. Totally wink, wink.
You wink, wink. Yeah, Colin Farrell as Grindelwald.
There are a couple of plot lines that are like kind of going, and this is where the movie kind of has a bit of an issue. Its
pacing can get a little weird.
Kind of bumps heads.
Because there's two movies going on. There's the one about the Obscurus, and then there's one about the finding the magical creatures, and they cross kind of at the end.
Newt shows Jacob into his suitcase, which has like a multi-biome movie set-esque closet space void room thing. It is so cool. I love that space.
Now, you didn't get your blasted obscures, but I feel like they're saving that for another movie.
I want to emphasize how awesome I love that thing. It was kind of like the burrow. He came down to a pantry full of alchemical ingredients and everything like that. But you looked off and there were like passageways you could see like the bolts where tarps were put up, and it looked like the environments of all these different creatures. You had like Arizona, the tundra, the grasslands, the savanna, and it was as simple as going back through the passway back into like the closet shack thing and going into another, and the animals were freely crossing between it and just chilling out and everything like that. It was so cool to see, and that was like one of those really magical things I wanted to see in all the Harry Potter books or the movies. But the directors could never get their heads around that. And I have to applaud this movie for that, because it was the first time that they actually tried something. Instead of just trying, oh, it's a moving painting. Oh, it's rotating stairs. This is an actual
functioning magical. Yeah, a functioning.
I'm sorry, I like the space.
Sense. Yeah.
And they make this great joke. It's like, do you have any idea where this sort of creature would be? They need a lot of space, trees, and that sort of stuff. And he goes, well, you can find it in Central Park. And Newt goes, oh, well, where's that? And Jacob just goes,
yeah,
Trust me.
because
if you can't find Central Park in New York City,
yeah, if
you're
you've
a
never
tourist.
been to New York, yeah, it was a moment of, oh, this guy has infinite knowledge.
I've been to New
of
York
all these
City,
people. Yeah.
so even I know that part. It's like, you don't ask where Central Park is.
Because chances are it's right over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They managed to get the rhino back in the suitcase, and Newt and Jacob wander off to go hop into the suitcase to make sure everything's okay with the animal, getting it back into its shelter. When Tina finds the suitcase and locks them in, takes them to the and decides to take them to the thing. Meanwhile, there's this whole thing going on with the Salemers and this newspaper and blah blah blah, yada yada.
But yeah, I think they're supposed to represent like the real danger, because the second Salemers are kind of like, oh, whatever, they're crazy. We don't really need to worry that much about them. But they represent what that fear at that high level, at like when the rich people fear you, that's when you need to be wary.
Yeah.
But they don't. That doesn't really go too far.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, like they don't. They're not in any way a threat in this movie.
So
not really.
yeah. Tina goes into a meeting between a bunch of the different heads.
Not really meaning to go into something where like.
Excuse me for interrupting it. Oh, I have bad timing. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
I have this guy. Some creatures got out.
She doesn't know that somebody's died at this point. She doesn't
nobody
realize
knows.
the level of deep shit she's in.
Sorry. Hey, by the way, this guy showed up yesterday and he had some magical creatures, and the president's like, why didn't you tell? He's been here for 24 hours and you didn't tell us? She's like,
and I'm like,
why didn't you?
I mean, she doesn't even.
Tried to let you know.
She tried to tell these people like several
Fucking
times about this guy.
Dick. By the way, the
but she
president's a
doesn't
female.
say. Yeah, and she's a complete bitch. Can I tell you how much I
she's,
dislike this woman?
So, Newt and Jacob come out of there, and they're like, why is a nomad not obliviated? And they get into all sorts of trouble, and then they show off, hey, by the way, the whole reason this meeting's going on is because the Senator Dude's been killed, and Newt gets a good look at the body through apparition sort of stuff going on.
And he's like, yeah,
That's
my
an
creatures
obscurus
didn't
kill.
do that. And that's
I don't have
obscurus.
anything that did that, and so immediately the American wizards freak out, and they lock up all three of them. So they sit in a cell for a bit, and they apologize to each other and that sort of crap. Eventually, Grimwald comes down. I'm gonna keep calling him Grimwald because that's who he is.
That's who he is.
So obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious, and the reveal isn't really all that great.
And
We'll
so
get to that though.
He pulls out the wizards and leaves Jacob alone in the cell for the time being. They pull him into an office to interrogate him. And oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, Newt has an obscurus of his own in his suitcase that's been locked up in a sphere because...
But it can't survive outside the sphere, so it's actually harmless at this point.
So what he's been doing is studying it and everything like that in order to see how better he can get it out of people and that sort of thing.
And so he can better help people later down the line.
As it turns out, Grimwald uses this as a scapegoat so that he can blame everything on Newt. Because, hey, as it turns out, he's been talking with this kid, Credence, trying to figure out where the actual loose obscurus is so that he can control it.
Control it, yeah. Because
And
he's a
so
dark wizard.
Now, since the obscurus actually has been rampaging around the city and stuff like that, he blames everything on Newt, so hopefully he can get things off his back or whatever, so they can stop the investigation long enough for him to find the actual obscurus going on. So he basically sentences these two to death, and And immediately my brain goes, oh, right, the Americans like death penalty.
Yeah, by the way, this is a pants-shittingly scary way to go.
Yeah.
They basically,
use
take, it's sort of like a fucked up pensive. It's a pensive.
It's a fucked up
take
pensive.
Your happiest memories and put it into this pensive made of acid so that you willingly go into this chair that's
Happy
floating over,
memories.
and it's very scary because the woman doing it is like, oh baby, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And then she makes the person happy by having them look at these happy memories, puts them in kind of like a trance.
Yeah.
And she's like, see, doesn't that look nice?
So,
Don't
yeah,
you want to get in there?
There's like a hovering chair, pit of
Yeah.
acid, and I'm just in there like,
and
this is
it's
uncomfortable.
scary as fuck.
He
The bow
manages to knock
truckle
out
in his
the other two.
Yeah, the bow truckle in his pocket comes out and undoes his stuff.
So they get out of the
Yeah.
death chamber. I'm just going to call it a death chamber. They manage to meet up with the other two, and Queenie gets everyone in a suitcase, smuggles them out of the ministry, and they decide we need to go find the other creatures so that Graves can't keep using them as scapegoats in order to further complicate the investigation into the Obscurus.
because this movie,
I can't remember what
that plot was running. It was at this point in the movie where they were going after these creatures. I had to pee so bad, and I was just like, "Oh my god, how much like I'm loving this. I don't want to go and come back." But yeah, this is like the third act that we're in at this point.
So they managed to get find both of the creatures and gather them back into the suitcase and everything
wrap
like
up that in a very cool scene. Wrap up that storyline.
Yeah. So they basically handled their stuff. It turns out the Obscurus has gotten loose again. Graves has tracked down the kids, and it thinks it's a little sister, and he insults the boy who's been helping him this whole time because he thinks he's his friend.
And you can tell that this is something Grindelwald does. He gets close to you. He makes you feel like you are the special one. You are the chosen one. You are the one he's been looking for. And then the second you're no longer useful to him, he drops you like a sack of potatoes and moves on.
But it turns out, hey, guess what?
The Obscurus you've been looking for the whole time?
The boy is the Obscurus, the one we've been focusing on this whole time.
So basically, Grindelwald fucked up by...
And he's like, I messed up.
I messed up. Here,
come on,
I owe you
best
a
friends,
apology.
best friends forever, right?
Yeah.
And then Creans goes,
it was like, no, motherfucker, no. And
he lets the Obscurus loose.
Nightmare just bursts forth from him like an alien, and it's just so cool.
Here's where the CGI gets actually pretty freaking cool, because we hadn't had a good look at the Obscurus all the way up until now. This suddenly becomes a kaiju film in a pretty cool way. Like, the way it moves around and, like, slams into things and crawls along other things and, like, lifts up and settles and floods, and it's actually really freaking cool.
Somehow keeping a solid and a gas
and a liquid.
It just changes shape so much.
It's an obscure thing.
Yeah.
And so it takes off. It wreaks fucking havoc across the city. Graves goes chasing after it. Newt decides he's going to chase after it too because he needs to help this young boy.
Yeah. And he's not doing it to... And he has actually no motivation really to go after
he
him.
just suddenly sees this thing and goes... Oh, well, I need to help this person
because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
and that's that's the Hufflepuff way right there. You do it because it's the right thing to do.
So,
you don't need motivation.
Well, now, when you're sitting there watching that scene unfold, your brain goes, okay, there are three distinct possibilities that could happen. One, Newt wins, and it manages to get the Obscurus and the boy to safety and everything like that. That's probably not going to happen. Two, Graves is going to get the boy to himself and use the Obscurus in order to wreak more havoc. That's probably not going to happen. Or three, and this is what happens, the president basically orders, you know what, I don't want anyone to have this, or it's caused too much trouble, just kill him. Just kill him. Fucking disintegrate it.
Which seems to be her answer to everything. Oh, just kill it.
Oh, by the way, that's the American approach.
Yeah.
Grace decide, I'm not going down without a fight, and goes and, like, starts shooting off spells at
And he's
everyone.
got his back to Tina and Newt because he doesn't find them a threat.
Yeah.
So they're the ones who actually beat him because he was dumb and turned his back to them.
He's protegoing and, taking out dudes and stuff like that. And Newt doesn't use magical, like, his wand or anything like that.
He uses his creatures.
His bat lizard thing swoops down, knocks out his wand, and then he uses the thing he was keeping the creature contained with to cuff him and everything like that. And then he goes and reveals that, oh, hey, guess what? Oh, wait, no, Tina acioed the wand. Sorry.
Tina Ackroyd and then for it was kind of like a Scooby-Doo ending.
Yeah.
Like,
he was old
it was
man,
like-
old man. And then the movie does something pretty fucking stupid.
Yep, Colin Farrell regenerates into Johnny Depp, and it's the only moment in the movie where I went, fucking really?
This moment,
Really?
they have a slow, like, build-up reveal sort of thing where it's obvious because
It's
they have
such a
that same
letdown,
hairstyle.
too.
You see a wanted
Yeah.
poster where the face is scratched out, but Newt reveals his identity in a Scooby-Doo-esque sort of way, but you see the hair change color, but then the face changes, and there's a mustache and everything, and I was the first to notice. And as soon as I saw it, who it was, I just went, and she kind of looked at me for a second, and then when it shot back to his face, she goes, Jesus Christ. And I was like, really?
Johnny Depp is Grindelwald,
Johnny
and
Depp.
it was one of those moments. He's not intimidating.
No.
Because it's just Johnny Depp and makeup again. I
am
don't give a fuck
sorry.
about Johnny Depp and makeup
No.
anymore. It would have been any actor.
It's the shocking reveal.
It's not even that.
It's the reveal
It's-
that he's Johnny Depp.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's... You've had an actor spend all this time building...
Farrell.
Yes, Colin Farrell, who I love and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my favorite movie with him in it is Fright Night, because he's a great bad guy. He's very intimidating.
Yeah.
But you spent all this time building up Graves and creating this character and all these little mannerisms in his voice and everything. I feel like you should have just kept Colin Farrell and added the eye, made the hair go blonde, made the mustache grow out, and then be like, oh, you're Grindelwald. You're not Graves. And I know that might be
Yeah, it was the...
It would have
they
been
had the
less
same
of a thing.
hairstyle. And the president goes, well, there's no friggin' way we're going to be able to obliviate it by being in New York City,
And
so
Newt
we're
is
all
like,
screwed. And
I
Newt's
have an
like,
idea.
I have a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
It turns out in his suitcase he has a Thunderbird, a
Which are
Quetzalcoatl he names
amazing.
Frank.
The Thunder
And I
named
love
Frank.
that bird. It's so cool looking.
It's beautiful.
And it can make storms and all that sort of stuff. But he hands it this potion from a...
It's from the evil thing he's been carrying around. Yeah, the evil whatever.
And it provides an actual very, very potent obliviate sort of like potion sort of
Which was set up
properties.
earlier in the movie. So it
So
doesn't
he-
come out of nowhere. It was set up a little
So
bit.
he's
in the
like,
beginning
sorry,
of the
Frank, I
movie.
was going to try to get you back to Arizona where you belong, but I kind of need you to do this thing now, and then you send me a postcard later, okay?
Yeah.
So Frank, the Thunderbird, I can't believe I get to say that because it's so fucking cool, takes the obliviation potion and flies up into the sky and releases it into a storm that covers New York City, and it obliviates all the muggles, or I'm sorry, the no-mages, and basically everyone just kind of forgets and goes, huh, as the Oars are walking around New York City, repairing the crap out of everything, and it's really cool. It's so cool.
Because the obliviate spell is being done with rain, it's such a gentle spell.
Mm.
Like it feels like like the wizards aren't like violently obliviating these people. It's a very gentle sort of like it was all a dream.
And it gets rid of like, it even affects people still indoors, and it like wipes out newspaper articles except for specific things. And
so it seems like, oh, happy ending,
all right, so
everything's wrapped up.
filled up, and then the president goes, hey, is that no-match still around? And they all look at Jacob and go, yeah, make sure to obliviate him too.
And they all look at her like,
And
come on.
This is something that they've been trying to avoid this entire time. Newt has not obliviated him because he sees something special in him.
And
When
he's his
Jacob-
friend. Yeah.
When Jacob finds all this magic stuff going on, he's just sitting there going, oh, that's actually pretty cool.
And he's
then he
very
sees the magical
accepting
creatures. He's
and-
like,
yeah.
that's really cool. And so he's just this guy who's like, I'm so happy I get to be a part of this. I didn't know this sort of thing existed because my world sucks. It's boring and everything like
I
that.
work in a canning factory and it's unhappy and everybody there is dying because they're unhappy. And
he
talks about not wanting to go back to
he's
that.
such a great character, and they basically have to take away all the magical community
and all
stuff
of the
from him.
growth
Wow.
he's had
Yeah.
and all that other stuff. Like, he goes
So-
from a guy who's just like, God, I'm trying, but nothing's going to ever happen for me, to, I can do this.
Nobody's forcing him to do this, but he basically states, well, she's right, if I know too much, then... and he starts breaking down, and Newt says, yeah, you're my friend, and they don't want him to actually do it, but he says it's just like waking up, and so he actually backs up into the rain himself and gets washed over by this obliviation thing.
And while he's still kind
Queenie,
of like in that between mode, yeah.
And Queenie steps forward, gives him a kiss, and steps away. And as he's sitting there, kind of coming back to his senses, he looks forward, and the other three
They're
are gone. And he
it's
sits there going,
it's a Donna Noble moment, and it breaks my heart.
Kind of just looks around and decides, well, I guess I better go back home. So he goes home. He shows up to work at the cannery the next day. Someone bumps into him. Obviously, it's Newt. And it turns out he swapped his case with some new stuff inside of it. Turns out one of the creatures that he was fond of have these eggs that are made of pure silver. So they use the eggs. So he gave him like a ton of eggshells, and he says, "Hey, because you needed some collateral for the loan for your bakery, by the way,
use this.
Signed a friend, who wants to see you succeed." Newt heads back to Britain and everything like that, and then the movie decides to give us the actual ending where it pans over, and it turns out Jacob definitely did get his loan, and it turns out his business is doing really well with like delivery vans and everything. And then it goes inside, and you find out why. It's because he's been making pastries that look exactly like the magical creatures that he's been so fond of, like the invisible monkey who could see into the future, and the
Pretty
niffler.
Much, yeah.
And
Everybody has
things.
their own pastry.
And you're sitting there like, does he actually still remember, or is it just kind of locked away?
Yeah.
But Queenie comes to see him, and he does this thing that he kind of like rubs at the spot where he was bitten, and then he just smiles, and you're just sit there left there wondering, okay, he probably does. He probably does remember.
It's coming back to him. I think Queenie did something because she's a legend. She's good at alchemy. I feel like when she kissed him, she might have done something in his head so that when he sees her later, he'll remember. And I feel like that's what she did there. So it's very implied, though. So I'm not sure.
All of this implication, but anyway, that's how the movie ends, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful. I like this movie. This
might be my favorite in the universe.
Yeah, I want to see more of this.
Absolutely.
I want to see more original Harry Potter universe stories.
And it doesn't even have to be the same characters. It doesn't even have to be the same characters.
Nope.
Just more of this in-universe stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like what they're doing with Rogue One and, stuff like that. I want to see more in this universe.
This is a really good recommendation from me. It stands on its own and everything like that. It's so good. Just go watch the movie. Trust me.
Okay, so next week we're back to bad movies.
No!
But because I've been choosing for the past while, and I know that's the point of the show and everything, but because you treated me to two very lovely movies today,
you're welcome.
I'm going to let you choose the next one, and it has to be one I haven't seen yet.
It has to be one you haven't seen yet. Do you have a genre or something?
Comedy. We haven't done comedy.
No, we haven't done any comedy.
Yeah, so what's a good comedy? What should we do for comedy?
Well, you like Friends.
I do like Friends. I do like Friends.
You also like Die Hard with that Bruce Willis guy.
Yes, I do love Die Hard. It's my favorite Christmas movie.
Well, we can figure something out for a movie. It might have to be something along the lines of, the whole 9 yards, maybe.
Whole 9 yards?
We might have to do a double feature.
Oh, really?
Again.
Why? What's the other one?
The whole 10 yards. And then the whole Green Mile, too. Anyway, bye, everybody!
You prefer strudel, huh, honey? Strudel it is.